The Cellcast is recorded in front of a live streaming audience.
Hello and welcome to another episode of The Cellcast. Joining me today is a man who, he just got done with some dental surgery. Welcome, Jacob.
Well, bring the program right up. Thanks. Ow! That really hurt.
That'll be the last time you go see Steve Martin, won't it?
Yeah, ow! Man, that guy's got some issues. Oh my god.
Oh, yes.
Jeez.
Not as much as Bill Murray.
Oh my gosh. That scene. Oh my gosh. But why, thank you. Let me introduce our co-host, a man who just got back from Mexico and decided to bring a plant with it. Welcome, Drew.
Well, I did pass Roswell.
Yep. Oh, God. This is going to be fun.
Yes.
If it turns into Audrey 2, this is going to be a problem.
Believe me, if it starts wilting while I'm watering it and it thinks it wants blood, it ain't getting any.
It's going to the trash compactor.
That thing would survive a trash compactor.
That is true.
It's going in the incinerator. I don't care that we're in a burning man right now. I will go out and I will make a campfire and that thing will burn, baby, burn.
Feed me.
Nope. Not today, Audrey.
Seymour.
Get thee behind me, Audrey 2. Anyway,
oh my gosh.
Deela, though, will you do me a favor and keep an eye on that weird plant I brought back?
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Today we are reviewing probably the least animated movie that we will ever review. Little Shop of Horrors, the musical. So the first quote unquote live action musical on this podcast.
Yeah, I would take notice that, like, when Drew set the schedule, be like, I didn't really pay attention to it until like 2 weeks ago. Mm-hmm. I was like, Little Shop of Horrors. That's a live action film with a plan in it. I'm like, this is a little bit of a stretch.
I told you about this in July.
You did. I forgot. There's a bunch of stuff that's going on between July and now.
Which is fair. Fair. But yeah, I put this on there and it got on there. We're reviewing it because it's probably the closest thing to a full-on kaiju movie we'll ever review.
Maybe.
King Kong, I think, still may have to come up at some point.
Possibly.
But not yet, because that's still within, 3 years since we reviewed that for Movie of the Week?
Possibly.
But beside the point. So yeah, how are you doing, Jacob?
Man, I'm doing great. It's been, what now, like a week?
It's been 2 weeks since we last recorded.
Yeah, it's been 2 weeks.
We have put up 2 episodes since then. The last of our Looney Virus episodes, Chowhound, which, boy, was that a fun trip going on trying to get a hold of that audio from 2020. It was on a different computer, the one that I don't normally have plugged up.
Oh gosh! And
then, of course, the last episode we reviewed live, which was Frankenweenie.
Yes.
So yeah,
last week was pretty good. Let's see. I had a lot of time on my hands between church Wednesday night being canceled for water issues.
Yeah, I heard about that.
Yeah, that was definitely interesting.
That building.
Yeah, that building. Good nights. But so last Friday, me and my girlfriend, we had been playing this for a couple of months now. We decided to go down to Galveston in October here in Texas, so it's gonna be not so cold as it is right now. Obviously, the jacket,
but not burning up either, like it would be in like the summer.
Exactly.
I like going in the spring.
Fair enough. Fair. Yeah. For audio listeners, be like, I'm wearing a hoodie. So
whereas I'm wearing shorts because I didn't have to leave the apartment this afternoon.
I did. It is cold here where we are right now.
Is.
But with that aside,
it's cold enough. I open up my windows to go to sleep too.
Oh, nice. So we drove down to Galveston. Wonderful time. Minus you get into Houston traffic, which is a nightmare.
Yeah, and the other way to get to Galveston is like 3 times slower.
Agreed.
If you go around the east side to go down to Bolivar,
and
take the ferry.
Yeah,
you took the better way. Trust me.
Yeah, that's what I keep hearing. Is faster.
It is a lot faster, even though the traffic
minus
is horrible.
All the detours we did.
Well, that's just Houston.
Yeah, that is just Houston. But we got down there. We stayed at this wonderful old mansion that survived the 1900 hurricane, Katrina, whatever.
Everything else.
Yeah. I mean, like, this was an old style, Victorian style mansion. And this was just wonderful. It was like 5 to 7 blocks off the seawall.
Mm-hmm.
It was a great walk down there. We bought the touristy things.
Mm-hmm.
We walked the seawall. We did a lot of things. We went and had lunch. We had dinner.
Mm-hmm.
We had a picnic on the seawall, which was fantastic.
Yeah.
Being the history nerd I am, you read everything. It's great.
Yes.
It was a lot of fun. We walked down. The suite we had was 2 rooms. She stayed in one room. I stayed in the other. Which was a bit like, it was interesting. It was fun.
Mm-hmm.
It was a lot of fun. Definitely the ghost tours would come by at night because it's Galveston, it's haunted. Everything's haunted. And it's funny listening to these tourists make up stories about everything. It's hilarious. Definitely when you, for anybody who knows, be like, I have Tourette's disorder and I bark like a dog.
Mm-hmm.
So
we have yet to catch this on the episode, on the show, but we hope one day.
Yeah.
I hope one day. I don't know about him.
No, but I let my defenses down because I can do that. Because it's like you put kind of barriers up where you won't do it as much. And so I just let the fences down and let the dog out. And it was
scare the people on the ghost tour.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
It was the Hound of Baskerville.
It was great. It was so much fun. I would highly recommend, if you have never been to Galveston, go down there. They have tours. You can just go and just look for yourself. It's great. So we were down there from Friday afternoon until like Saturday afternoon.
Mm-hmm.
It was just a wonderful time. Me and Ashley, my girlfriend, just had a wonderful time. And it was a great little adventure. I think we wore ourselves out walking most of it.
Right.
But other than that, it was great. Let's see, church on Sunday, work has been interesting. Apparently someone else quit while I was gone. So yeah, that makes the schedule even more interesting.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, it's been a really good week. How about you? I know you went somewhere.
Oh yes, I went somewhere after I made sure everything was up and running for me to leave,
and
just being antsy about making sure everything was going to fire at the right time. Thank goodness I can check all that from my phone, even if I know I can't fix it from there.
That'd be kind of all the way from where you from. Be like, oh, I can't do anything.
Well, thankfully, both times I would have been like in Lindale when the things needed to fire. So
okay,
not too terribly bad, but still trying to do it from your phone.
Yeah,
it's a pain in the neck.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
We went to New Mexico to visit my grandma who lives on a mountain with her husband. I'm sorry, I can't think of him as my grandpa, no matter what I do.
Right.
But beside the point, it's about a 2-day drive to get there from where we are. Of course, one day was just Texas, except we actually went all the way to Carlsbad, New Mexico, and that was an 8-hour drive, while the last 2 hours were in New Mexico on some of the slowest, ugliest roads I've ever been on. No offense to New Mexico, but some of your state is pretty. A lot of it ain't. A lot of the part I was on ain't. But we went up to on the way there, like I said, we stopped at Carlsbad, and then the next morning we went through Carlsbad Caverns.
Okay.
If you've never been to Carlsbad Caverns, unfortunately, while it is not on the way to anything, which is the bad part, you should make a trip and see that at least once. It was a beautiful trip down into that cave. I will say, while we only did like a mile, and I think it was closer to a mile and a half. I could have my distance wrong there.
Okay.
Which you wouldn't think even a guy my size that would wear out. The fact that it was at a 45-degree angle for most of it would.
Right.
I mean, you go down, the big room, as they call it, is like 700 feet down. I believe it's the same height to go down as it is to get to the observation deck in the Empire State Building.
Yeah.
In New York. Give you an idea of the size of this thing. And it was beautiful, but we were tired because trying to stand at a 45-degree angle. My calves hated me for 3 days.
I can imagine.
I mean, literally, it was like pain in the back of my calves. Because I was working just to stay upright. I was working muscles I probably haven't used since I was born.
True.
If we're being honest.
Yeah.
As much as I have pretty decent leg muscles, there's only a little bit of fat on them, unlike the rest of me. Right. But it was hard just to, it was that hour and a half going down that wore me flat out. But at the same time, that was only half the day. The other half was to drive up to where my grandparents lived, or my grandma lives, and her husband, which they live about an hour and a half away from the nearest Walmart. Sorry, Voldemort, the store that shall not be named. But trust me, that was the closest grocery store. I think there may have been an Albertsons, but the Walmart was technically closer. A little far for Brookshire Brothers.
Yeah. A little bit.
Just a little bit. Yeah, we didn't even see a Brookshire till we got to Sweetwater.
Really?
Not Brookshire Brothers, but the regular Brookshires.
Yeah.
I didn't know Brookshires went over that far.
Oh, yeah.
But they do, apparently. But that was a beautiful drive up there. Because that's the thing. New Mexico has got to be the only state I've ever been in where you can see for hundreds of miles and still the next town will sneak up on you. When you are on the road on, I think it's US 82 between Artesia and that mountain, you would not know you were heading towards a forest because you're in the middle of a desert. You can't even see the mountain when you leave Artesia because it's a good hour and a half to get to the mountain from there. And they're already warning you, oh, by the way, the other side of the mountain, it's steep. If you are driving a big truck, you may not want to go this way. And trust me, you don't want to go that way in a big truck. But
because your brakes most likely will fail.
Well, it's a steep enough hill that they had the runaway truck runoffs on the other side of the mountain.
Really?
They had 2 of them. I didn't see anyone using them, thankfully.
Yeah.
And thankfully no one needed to use them after we passed. But yeah, don't get me wrong, it is beautiful, but the forest is not till you get into the middle mountains.
Yeah.
The outer mountains look just as deserty as anything else. You can't even we were coming up on like the foothills.
Yeah.
There was no clue. We were heading towards East Texas, basically. Except with deer and elk and not moose, but I wouldn't have been surprised.
Yeah.
But we did see like a bunch of mule deer, I think, up there. They walked right up to my grandma's front porch. That was weird. And it was quiet. Did a little bit of reading while I was up there. Got through, I think, the first 3 volumes of the Spy Family manga. While I was there. Confused the people's house I was staying at because they were trying to figure out why I was reading backwards. But yeah, we had a good time. Well, one of the days when we went down the other side of the mountain to Alamogordo, which, if you don't know Alamogordo is only there, and the other signs of civilization are only there because the White Sands Missile Base is also there. Fair. They grew up around that. And it is kind of hard to imagine when you're looking at the vista overlooking all of that to go, the first atomic bomb went off just right over there. It's kind of a weird feeling.
Yeah.
When you realize, oh, an atomic bomb has gone off somewhere near here. Okay.
Am I getting radiated now?
I doubt that, because, I mean, that first bomb was not super powerful.
Yeah.
It wasn't as powerful as the ones that eventually did land in Hiroshima and Nagasaki.
Right.
But beside the point.
Again, watch out for that plant. Just saying.
That was at Roswell.
Oh.
We didn't go through Roswell. We saw signs.
Oh.
And according to my grandma, that is where all the weirdos in New Mexico are.
Oh, okay.
I don't know this for certain, just going off what my grandma told me.
Oh, okay.
And she's from Amarillo, so she's a Texan. Forgive her. New Mexicans. We forgive you. But one of the cool things there is, because, you know, that's where a lot of those missile tests went on back in the day. They actually had a space museum there in Alamogordo.
Yeah.
It's not as impressive as NASA.
Of course.
But to be fair, I'm talking about NASA.
Yeah.
This was just kind of a little small. It almost felt like a municipal museum in a way.
Oh, okay.
It's strangely enough. But they had some stuff outside that had been collected at White Sands, it said. Test things that the government may have found and needed to test to see how badly they could damage our stuff during World War II.
Got it.
They had a V2.
They had a V2?
Well, the remains of a V2.
Oh, okay.
The fiery husk of a V2.
Wow.
And a couple other cool little things. But what was interesting to me is, well, as interesting as like the rest of the thing was, it's like I said, I've been to NASA. I've seen much more cool stuff than that, but they did have some other cool little artifacts in there. Definitely, if you're in Alamogordo, go to the Space Museum. But they actually had, and we didn't know this before going in there, a Star Trek exhibit. And you know me, I'm a Trekkie.
Yeah.
And so it was cool seeing all this memorabilia and such from the back in the day. They even had a lot of the old Mego figures.
Yeah.
From the original toy line.
Yeah.
They even had something I remember owning. In fact, they had a book that I've got right here.
Oh, gosh.
A Very Klingon Christmas, spelled with a K. This is funny. Not looking at it right now. But the other cool things is they actually had some props that was on loan to the museum, ironically from the Smithsonian.
Okay.
They had an original Tribble from The Trouble with Tribbles.
Right.
And they had this little figure that you can see one of the actors holding in an episode called Catspaw, which is kind of a strangely Halloween-esque episode of Star Trek. You don't think of hearing that often with Star Trek. There's not many holiday episodes at all, but they did have a Halloween episode, kind of.
Yeah.
And because the guy may have been a vampire. But he was also powerful. So anyway, he somehow in that episode transforms the Enterprise into a small little keychain kind of a thing that's suspended in acrylic in the episode. And they had that little prop in there from that too, which was cool.
Nice.
It was interesting to see what was there, but that was definitely just a half, I mean, maybe a quarter day.
I got you. I got you.
We did that in about an hour, maybe 2. And that includes walking around the gift shop. So it was interesting. But yeah, we had a good trip. It was fun. I'm not sure when we're going back. If we are going back, I assume it won't. I assume there's at least one more trip, but that's morbid.
Yeah.
But we had a good trip.
Okay, so I do have a question. Ever since you've done more cruising than I have.
Yes.
So me and Ashley, we went down to the pier, went down to the port because she wanted to go see the boats and be like, I wanted to go walk. We walked down there. It's like, yeah, we probably went for like a 3.5-4 mile walk around. I want to say
I literally thought you were about to say a 3-hour tour.
Almost. But yeah, so just I had this thought. It's like, so be like, if you were to go on a cruise and porting out of Galveston, like, would you have someone drive you down there or would you park?
As close as we are, we have done the whole thing where we got up that morning
Mm-hmm.
and drove to Galveston and got on the ship that day, and then when we got back, drove back.
Oh, okay.
We are like, I think it's about 4-hour drive.
It's 4 hours.
Yeah.
Mm.
So which is not too terribly bad. Now, that being said, I would not be above driving down there the night before.
Mm-hmm.
But unless you're going down there with someone who's not getting on the ship that's going to Galveston for some other reason, I wouldn't ask them to drive you down there myself.
Oh, okay.
I would go ahead and park down there because honestly, the parking, if you're going through the cruise line, the parking is not that much more than the rest of your ticket. And plus, I think the more you cruise and the more your rewards pop up, I think parking at some point starts to come down. I could be wrong there. I don't know. I'm only a red, although I go up to gold the next time I cruise.
Okay.
But it's better to go ahead and do that because
okay.
And the main reason I say that is unless you got somebody down there who use house you can stay at for free.
Yeah.
And then leave your car there for a week, and then they can drive you down to the terminal.
Fair.
I would, unless you've got that, from here I would go ahead and just drive down either the morning of or the night before and just stay in a hotel.
Okay.
And then park there at the cruise port.
I gotcha. Fair.
Because they do I have not in the times we've been there. I've not heard of someone breaking into cars down there. They do keep an eye on them.
They do. Well, good to know.
Yeah.
Good to know.
Also, if you're going on a cruise, try to get down there early so you can eat lunch on the boat. Just a little suggestion.
Okay. Good to know.
Because trust me, you will want to eat something after you go through the trouble of checking in there on that boat. It takes a while.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Alrighty.
So, Jacob, I do have one question for you.
Yeah.
What have you been watching?
All right, so I do have a very good question for you.
Okay.
Have you failed this city?
I have not, but then I've not done anything that needed to be done for the city.
Okay.
This is a Batman reference, if I'm remembering
No,
correctly.
It's not a Batman reference.
It's not Spider-Man.
No.
I am at a loss. I should know this because I recognize it's a quote from a movie. But I don't remember which movie.
Well, technically, it's from a series.
Either way, I reckon this is a famous quote, and I'm losing geek points by the minute. Save me here.
All right. So, over the course of 2 weeks, or more like a couple of days, I would. So I noticed. I think it was on Twitter. The actor Stephen Amell, who was the lead actor in the TV show Arrow from CW.
Right. Arrow.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. I
remember Batman with a bow.
I was not far off.
You weren't.
Because Green Arrow is kind of a ripoff of Batman made by DC, which is odd, but beside the point.
Yeah, either or. I noticed on Twitter that he put a post out that was Arrow had be like the first episode aired like 10 years ago.
Right.
Which is kind of what?
Makes you kind of feel old.
It does. It does. I was a huge fan of Arrow when it came out because I love archery. Love archery. I love archery as a kid. And I wanted to get into it. It just takes a lot of time and some, investment to get into it. But I decided to just kind of like not contribute to like, heck, I'm going to just start rewatching the series. And I started watching it and I was like, this is pretty good. This is good. There's some parts where it's, it's very CW-esque and it's just, it's a little too over dramatic, but I think a lot more of the later series, a lot more dramatic than this. But I really do enjoy the storytelling in that show, and like how it's more like a father, a son trying to fix the father's wrongs, and trying to correct his father's wrongs. That's what I was trying to look for. But I really enjoy it, and I'm like I'm episode 6 right now, but it's a good series. Season 2 is good. Season 3 I wasn't the biggest fan of, but that's with every series. We like kind of one series you like, one season you don't. But I really enjoyed it, and that's what I've primarily been watching, except YouTube.
YouTube, huh?
YouTube, yeah.
Anything interesting on the YouTubes?
Just more biographics and The Casual Criminalist, which is one of those I love to watch. Because I like true crime, and then I like learning stuff.
Right.
Yeah. Interesting fact: when we were down at the port, we found a dedication monument to the Battle of Galveston.
Yeah,
which was the last battle of the Civil War. I was like,
2 years after the Civil War officially ended.
It did. But that's
how long it took news to get down there.
Yeah, it's, hey guys, stop fighting. This war ended 2 years ago. Yeah. By the way, we've got a new president. Remember that.
Yeah. But anyway.
But yeah, that was. I'm slowly crawling through that series and be like, I like it so far. The nostalgia's kind of worn off a little bit, but it's still good. It's still very good storytelling where it's telling two stories at once, and it's it's flash forward and flash back, and just like it's done very well. It's done very well, and I highly recommend it. It just depends on your taste to be like, can you stand most CW shows? That's just my question. Could you watch a CW show from the early 2000s?
Now, I tried to watch that show when it was first airing, and I think I had only 2 episodes. Originally, I only had 2 episodes left when I stopped. I have since seen those 2 episodes because when The Flash started, and I tried watching The Flash when The Flash was still new.
Yeah,
and they got to that first crossover episode, and I'm going, who are you? And why does everyone seem to know who you are? Oh, this is from when that happened after I quit watching Arrow.
Yeah,
I guess I should catch up, and I tried catching up through season 2. I think I got about halfway through season 2, and then it's like, I'm done. All interest I had of keeping going is now gone. I can't even tell you why I quit.
Yeah.
It was more of, well, I'm tired of the show. I'm going to watch something else, and I never came back. That sort of thing.
Fair.
Granted, I personally thought the first season of Arrow was too dark, and it was very obvious
That's what I loved about it.
It was very obvious that they were wanting to make a Batman show since they were using all Batman villains.
Yeah. And it was inspired heavily from Christopher Nolan's Dark Knight trilogy.
Which is fair, but it was just at some point where it's like, this is going to sound ironic, all things considered, especially with the movies that came out after this. It's like, could y'all lighten it up? Y'all are almost too dark for me. Couple years later, and there's Man of Steel. Okay. Though I have different opinions about how that went, but beside the point.
Right.
Anyway.
Yeah, so that's all I've been watching. What about you?
Well, you would think with all that I hadn't done a lot of watching.
Right.
But I did get to see a couple of cool things.
Yeah.
Starting off with the animated stuff. I will say I have gotten to watch the 2nd and 3rd episodes of Spy Family.
Really?
Of part 2. To quote Dallas from Geek Devotions on his Twitter, that last episode gave me diabetes. It's that sweet. It is that sweet. But here's the thing. I say stuff like that, and you're going to think, oh, this show must have lost. Because I know you saw part of the first part of Spy Family. You know this show has teeth.
Yeah, it does.
And you're going to think when I say that by this point, the show's lost all its teeth. It hasn't.
Really?
It is... I have decided that the only way I can accurately describe what Spy Family is for people who don't know what this anime is it's the sweetest spy... It's the most wholesome spy thriller you'll ever watch.
Really?
It's everything that you expect from a wholesome family show and everything you expect from a crazy spy thriller on the level of James Bond without ever getting that nasty.
Gotcha.
James Bond's not really that nasty.
No,
if we're being honest, but it doesn't even get to that level of nasty.
Yeah,
but that level of action.
Yeah.
But I did get to watch both of those. I had to watch it on my phone just because of where I was. But you would be happy for your dog brother.
Oh gosh,
I'm picking on you because of the dog thing.
Of course.
But the first 3 episodes of part 2 so far have been his introduction story.
Yeah.
And
Bond, right?
Bond. He doesn't get the name until the last, and the reason for the name is adorable.
Okay.
I don't want to spoil it because we are watching that show as part of TAS at some point.
Okay.
That show is, I'm still saying that is my favorite anime of the last 20 years.
Okay.
If not all time. I haven't made that decision yet. But that I did get a chance to watch some of that. Also got to watch a old sci-fi movie from the 50s. We watched it when we were in Carlsbad that first night of the trip because it was late. We were both tired. We were looking for something to watch, and we saw this movie coming on. We both realized neither one of us had seen the movie. Both neither me or my mom had seen the movie. So we sat down and watched The Day the Earth Stood Still.
Really?
The old black and white classic, not the modern. Is it Keanu Reeves? Not the modern one, anyway.
Yeah.
Whoever was in that one. I can't imagine that is actually any good after I've seen this one. It feels like you're watching a 2-hour Twilight Zone episode.
Oh, okay.
And it's of that quality of storytelling. I enjoyed it. I highly suggest other people go watch that also. It was a little bit of a slow burn, as most movies from that era are.
Okay, gotcha.
But this could have been done as a stage play. It's just the way it was shot. And I finally now, I don't exactly understand what Klaatu Barada Nikto means. I know it doesn't mean here what it means in The Evil Dead. But in the original movie, I at least understand more of an idea of what it's supposed to mean.
I gotcha.
But yeah, that was a good movie. It was one of those we decided, this is probably gonna be a cheesy movie. We'll watch it for a half hour, and if after a half hour we need to move, we'll go on to, there was another movie coming on that was a good choice also. It's like, if after half an hour we're not getting into this, we'll switch over to that one.
Yeah.
After an hour, we look down and go, I guess we're watching this movie. Because we were like nearly getting, like, there's like only a half hour left of it. It's like, yeah, I guess we are finishing this movie. Because we're both kind of into this.
Nice.
But yeah, I do suggest The Day the Earth Stood Still. The original version, I don't know anything about the new version. Can't imagine that did well. And I say that because I remember when the new one came out on home video.
Yeah.
We only got one SKU of those.
Okay.
And only one way of selling it. And it was the pack-in title with the original movie. And it really felt like you were buying the original movie and the new movie was the bonus feature when you looked at it. Fair. I'm not trying to be mean or anything, but that's really how it felt when I was looking at it. And I didn't buy it then. I should have. But that's why I feel like the new one can't be any good, just because of the way that released. But anyway, what else did I watch? The only other really thing I watched was, I did watch some YouTube went here and there, nothing too fancy. But yeah, that's pretty much all I watched.
Okay.
So Jacob, it's been 2 weeks.
Yes.
I want to know what's in the news.
Okay.
The Cellcast News with your host Jacob Heron.
All right. Why, thank you, Dealit. And this one was more like somber because this was last week.
Yes.
I posted it on Facebook, so I'm going to just quote it verbatim.
Mm-hmm.
This is quoting Don Bluth. Rest in peace, Angela Lansbury. It is sad. It is a sad day on earth. It must be a glorious day in heaven. We will all miss you very much. You made us all laugh and sing. Rest in peace, 1925 to 2022, Don Bluth.
Mm-hmm.
And I added to this from a Grand Duchess, Anastasia, to a witch, the last unicorn, and a beloved teapot from Beauty and the Beast, Dane Angela Lansbury, which really missed. October 11, 2022, when we lost Angela Lansbury.
I know you were focusing on the animated stuff, but you left out two of her biggest roles.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Murder, She Wrote and Bed Knobs and Broomsticks.
Yes.
But anyway.
Yeah. I was
a witch and a mystery writer. Just
that's true.
Anyway.
So yeah, that was a big one that came out. So I know I brought this up when it was first announced, but okay, so devoted fans of Cape Crusaders will be thrilled that Warner Brothers Studios Animation's first ever full CG animated feature, Batman and Superman Battle of the Super Sons, arrives on October 18th, which is today. 2022 from Warner Bros. Home Entertainment on 4K Ultra HD Blu-ray combo pack, Blu-ray and digital. So if you are one of these DC animated movie franchise people, be like, you probably already got it now, but
right,
it's out now, and it looks interesting. All right, so going into a little bit of news that I saw that seems interesting, because who doesn't love a little bit of Avatar the Last Airbender? I mean,
yes.
Paramount Pictures, Paramount Animation, and Nickelodeon Animation has enlisted Flying Bark Productions to animate their first recently announced untitled Avatar feature film in a newly confirmed partnership with Avatar Studios. In now recruiting Flying Bark Productions, Rise of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Lego Monkey Kid, and What If. Same studios behind those series.
Right.
Is seeking Australian and international artists across several 2D animation and 3D and CG departments, which will see successful candidates join the team in Australia in early 2023. They haven't given a date of what this untitled Avatar film, but it is based on Avatar: The Last Airbender from Nickelodeon. So that just sounds like fun.
Yeah.
So I believe that's all I have for info and stuff.
All right.
Or the news. Let's say that.
Yes, the news. We haven't got to info and stuff.
I always get those two segments mixed up for some reason.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure why, but
I don't know.
Deela, why don't you go ahead and move us into the spoiler-free section of our review of Little Shop of Horrors.
Certified fresh and spoiler-free.
This is actually my second viewing, because the first time I viewed this was this was actually the first movie I originally watched when HBO Go first launched.
Really?
Yeah. I was actually, when HBO Max.
Yeah.
When HBO Max first launched, I was looking for something to watch on the service. You know, the Disney Plus, I did the same thing with. I looked for something I maybe had never seen and never had a chance to watch.
Yeah.
So I went through the whole thing, and I came across Little Shop of Horrors. I'd heard of it, but I knew Rick Moranis was in it. But that's about all I knew about it. Other than, I think Nostalgia Critic did a top 10 or top 11 villain songs, and he included the dentist song from this as one of those. So that's the only other thing I knew. I had no idea how a dentist worked into a movie about a plant.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
But
yes.
I remember watching it then, and I remember enjoying it, but I remember thinking it was I thought at the time it was a little stilted, but I also think I was tired when I watched it.
Yeah.
So I probably didn't give it a fair. I was still trying to figure out what on earth is going on here. Yeah. So in this viewing, I actually enjoyed it a lot more. There was a lot less pressure, I think, going into it to some degree for me. The only other thing I really knew was Frank Oz directed it, which does give us a connection to the Muppets, but it's not a close enough connection to call this a Muppet movie. It's about as Muppet movie as Star Wars would be a Muppet movie.
That is true.
But because even though that Jim Henson's son was one of the puppet operators on Audrey 2, I found out. Yeah. Brian Henson was.
Really?
Yeah.
And didn't one of the...
and a lot of the puppeteers had worked at Jim Henson Studios.
Yeah.
So we are still seeing a growth of their work. It's just this is not the Muppet Studios that was going to continue going on making at least Labyrinth, and then later on make Muppet Christmas Carol and Muppet Treasure Island. But anyway,
yeah.
I enjoyed the movie then. I enjoyed the movie now. It's actually one I would suggest. I debate whether this would be good for kids.
Yeah, I would agree with you.
And I say that for two reasons. For one thing, there is some language in this that might be a little tricky for some people, especially for kids. There is a scene where Rick Moranis gets hit in his manhood.
Yeah.
And it's fully telegraphed, but it's funny when it happens, but it doesn't mean it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
And yeah, I enjoyed this viewing of it, and it does kind of hit that kind of childish giggle fit to it. It made my inner 12-year-old happy, but my inner 12-year-old would never have been allowed to watch this film when I was 12. So, yeah, don't get me wrong, I enjoyed it. It's just there are a couple moments that's like, maybe not.
Yeah.
Not to mention, I think to some degree, unless this movie is a little stilted, for lack of a better word.
Okay.
I do think it's that because it very much feels like you're watching the recording of a Broadway musical instead of a movie based on a Broadway musical.
Yeah, agreed.
That's really the only bad thing I think about it, which I do have some dislikes. I have some opinions, but for this adaptation later on. But other than that, I enjoyed the movie. What's your non-spoilery thoughts on it?
Let's see. Well, I remember watching a little bit of this when I was a child, when I think my parents rented it, or they, someone let them borrow it or something like that. And I was like, it's a musical. It's boring, because my mother loved musicals, and I just did not like musicals when I was a kid.
Unless they're animated by Disney.
That is true.
But you don't think of those as musicals at the time.
No, you don't. I think as an adult, I've acquired a taste for musical in a way. So I do appreciate this more as an adult in the second viewing for this review. It is a very good film. It is a lot of fun. It's definitely a departure what I remember of this film.
Yeah.
Because I remember just snippets and it's like, this is a weird one. And whenever Audrey 2 pops up, when she's, just big, large in control, it got a little scary.
Understandable.
So
it's supposed to be a little bit scary.
It is. I agree. Is it family friendly? Depends on your level of taste when it comes to what you want to show your kids.
Yeah.
And that is parents' discretion. But overall, I really enjoyed this film. I was laughing my butt off. To quote Frank Oz, when doing a talking about The Little Mermaid, because his work with Ashman, come on,
Howard
Ashman, thank you. When Oz was asking about this film, be like, it's like talking with Howard. It was like, it's like Frank, this movie's stupid. It's meant to be stupid.
Yes.
Be like, I literally writing this, be like, I had my tongue firmly in my cheek, writing the screenplay to this. It was like, it's just supposed to be cheesy.
Yeah.
And funny.
It's based off a Roger Corman film, for crying out loud. This is not meant to be, Oscar worthy, even though it was nominated for an Oscar.
I did notice that, yeah.
But yeah, I think that's going to be it for the spoiler-free section. We're going to hit the bumpers right quick, and then we will come back with our full review of Little Shop of Horrors.
This podcast is a proud member of Culture Box. Whether you enjoy geeky reviews, comedy, or original fiction, you can open up the Culture Box and find something excellent for your soul. Point your web browser to culturebox.media.
This week, we suggest checking out Stunning and Brave, where each week hosts Chris Cowan of the Babylon Bee and Nate Henderson of Some Boring Budgeting Job confess their privilege, spotlight stunning social media posts, and fabricate outrage, all while keeping you super woke and enlightened. They will make you laugh. That's right.
You have no choice.
Check out Stunning and Brave at stunningandbrave.net.
The Cellcast would like to thank the following patrons: Josh Adams, Ashley Ruiz, Book of Gaming.
To get your name on the show, plus uncut episodes, early access to the Cellcast Plus reviews, and special art from Jacob, please donate to us on Patreon.
The following is a spoiler-filled review for Little Shop of Horrors. Listener discretion is advised.
Yeah, baby.
Little Shop of Horrors was directed by Frank Oz, who had previously directed The Muppets Take Manhattan. It was also written by Howard Ashman with music by Alan Menken.
Mm-hmm.
This is the least Disney movie they've ever made.
Just a little.
Just a little.
Little.
It is, of course, based on the musical that Howard Ashman and Alan Menken wrote, which is in turn based on the film The Little Shop of Horrors, directed by Roger Corman and written by Charles B. Griffith. Getting into the cast, Levi Stubbs is the voice of Audrey 2. And believe it or not, he was the voice of Mother Brain in Captain N, the Game Master.
Really?
Yeah, I can see it now.
Huh.
But yeah, Rick Moranis was played Seymour Krelborn.
Mm-hmm.
He was Dark Helmet in Spaceballs and Louis Tully in Ghostbusters. Ellen Green voiced the original Audrey, and she played Goldie in Rockadoodle.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
Also, she was Mrs. Sugarbee in Rapunzel's Tangled Adventure, or as I like to call her during those reviews, Paint Lady.
Oh, yeah. That's right.
I had to look that one up. It's like, I know this name, Mrs. Sugarbee. Oh, her!
Yeah.
She's one of the villains. Vincent Gardenia played Mushnik, and in the movie Bang the Drum Slowly, he played a character named Dutch. Steve Martin played Orin Scrivello, DDS. And he was Neil Page in Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. And also Lucky Day in The Three Amigos. I have to do it that way. One of these days, I'll actually learn the whole thing they do when they say that. But anyway. Trachina Arnold played Crystal. And she played the character of Rochelle in Everybody Hates Chris. Michelle Weeks played Ronette, and she was a teenage girl in Norman's Corner. And Tisha Campbell was Chiffon, and she played the character of Carol Larrabee in Last Man Standing. These three are the Greek chorus that are
okay,
movie.
yeah.
Always singing backup for everybody.
Yeah.
Jim Belushi, brother of John Belushi, played Patrick Martin in the theatrical cut of this film.
He did.
And he was Jim, and according to Jim, while Paul Dooley played the director's cut version of Patrick Martin, and he was the voice of Sarge in Cars.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
John Candy played Wilkinson.
Oh gosh, yes.
In this. He was Barf in Spaceballs.
Uh-huh.
And Del Griffith in Planes, Trains, and Automobiles.
Yes.
Last but not least, Bill Murray
Oh gosh,
played Arthur Denton.
Oh gosh.
And he was Peter Venkman in Ghostbusters.
Yes.
Kingdom Hearts connections.
Is there any?
The loosest, but technically I'm counting it.
Okay.
Alan Menken.
Okay.
Wrote the music for this movie.
Mm-hmm.
He also wrote a special song you're aware of called The Healing Incantation from Tangled.
Yes.
Which is performed in Kingdom Hearts 3.
Interesting. Okay.
I count it.
Okay.
Unfortunately, it's not performed by Mandy Moore, but we can't have everything.
No.
Anyway, that brings me to the end of the cast list. What do we got in info and stuff?
All right. So IMDb, I'm actually going to stick to it this time because if you guys remember from Bad Movie Month, I had a tendency of, hey, let's go into a better movie this one. But I'm actually going to stick to it this time because we're actually doing, some really good movies this month.
Mm-hmm.
So IMDb has a 7.1 out of 10 available to watch on HBO Max, produced by the
Geffen.
Okay, that's an interesting word to say. Geffen Company, distributed by Warner Brothers. Release date was December 19th, 1986. Box office, it had a budget of $25 million. Okay, so Little Shop of Horrors, after delayed, needed to complete a revised ending. Was released on December 19th, like I said before. I had an approximate to a strong business over the 1986 holiday weekend. The movie grossed over $39 million in the box office and considered to be a box office flop. Unfortunately. But it did make a lot. It made a very large comeback when it went to home release.
Mm-hmm.
Home release in 1987 on VHS and Beta, as well as a decade-long history of being viewed on both cable and satellite television. Little Shop of Horrors was first on DVD to be recalled for content. I don't know what the content was. In 1988, Warner Brothers released the special edition DVD that contained approximately 22 minutes of unseen footage of Frank Oz's original ending. Warner Brothers reconstructed and restored the ending in an alternative edit if I can talk, with rediscovered color negatives of the sequence and the help of production notes from Oz and others. The film's creative team, it was released on DVD and Blu-ray in October 9th, 2012. So apparently I didn't know this, but there was supposed to be a remake.
Why?
I don't know.
Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
If done correctly, this might be interesting in the modern day.
Right.
But I wouldn't want them to remake it. And plus, I can't imagine, as cult classic as this film and the original, The Little Shop of Horrors was, I can't imagine even a third version would. I think it would have the same problems these two films had in theaters.
Yeah. So in January 2020, Full Circle Cinema reported that a remake of the film was in the works with Taron Egerton. I'm probably mispronouncing it. It'd be like, give us a cast who would be like Scarlett Johansson was supposed to be Audrey. Billy Porter was replaced Audrey 2.
I'm not liking this cast. I'm sorry. And the reason I'm not liking it is I think some of those actors, because of at least what I've seen them in more recently, I'm afraid that would take away from the charm of the film.
Maybe.
If that makes sense. The charm of the story.
Fair enough.
But I may be overreading it too. I don't know.
All right. So there was a lot of people that were interested in the film. They had at one point Chris Evans was interested in playing Dr. or Martin Short's not Dean Martin, not Dean Martin. Come on,
Steve Martin.
Steve Martin. I always get these guys confused. Play his role. But as of May 2021, the remake has been postponed indefinitely, and in September 2022, it was revealed the remake had been canceled.
I may accept something like this if it was done as a fully animated movie.
Okay.
I prefer 2D, but I think 3D would work also. But you've got to keep, like, you've got to go overboard with the music, in my opinion, to make it for all these. Plus,
agree.
I don't, considering the more adult nature of this film to some other ones, considering murder does take place in this film.
Yeah.
I don't know how well this would play. I just really don't. But
I need blood.
Anyway, getting into the summary. It is the early 1960s. The three-girl Greek chorus of Crystal, Ronette, and Chiffon introduce the film, warning the audience that some horror is coming their way. Seymour Krelborn and his colleague Audrey work at Mushnick's flower shop in a rundown, rough neighborhood in New York City referred to as Skid Row. They lament that they cannot escape the neighborhood. Struggling from a lack of customers, Mr. Mushnick decides to close the store, but Audrey suggests he may have more success by displaying an unusual plant that Seymour owns. Immediately attracting customers, Seymour explains he bought the plant, which he dubbed Audrey 2, from a Chinese flower shop during a solar eclipse. Attracting business to Mushnick's shop, the plant soon starts to wither. Seymour accidentally pricks his finger and discovers that Audrey 2 needs human blood to thrive. Audrey 2 begins to grow rapidly, and Seymour becomes a local celebrity. Meanwhile, Audrey suffers at the hands of her sadistic boyfriend, Oren Scrivello. However, she has feelings for Seymour and secretly dreams of running off with him to the suburbs. Seymour continues to feed Audrey 2 his own blood, draining his energy. Seymour soon attempts to ask Audrey out, but she turns him down because she has a date with Oren, who is revealed to be a dentist. After Seymour closes up shop, Audrey 2 begins to talk to Seymour, demanding more blood than Seymour can give. The plant proposes that Seymour murder someone in exchange for fame and fortune, as well as the ability to woo Audrey. Seymour initially refuses, but eventually agrees after witnessing Oren abusing Audrey. After Oren finishes with his masochistic patient, Arthur Denton, who has requested a long, slow root canal, Seymour draws a revolver on Oren, but cannot bring himself to use it. Oren, who abuses nitrous oxide, puts on a type of Venturi mask to receive a constant flow of the gas, but breaks the valve, and Seymour watches as he asphyxiates. Seymour dismembers Oren's body and feeds it to Audrey 2, which has grown to enormous size, but is unknowingly witnessed by Mushnick, who flees in fear. Audrey, feeling guilty over Oren's disappearance, is comforted by Seymour, and the two admit their feelings for each other. That night, Mushnick confronts Seymour about Oren's death and holds Seymour at gunpoint, blackmailing him into turning the plant over and leaving town. With no choice, Seymour begins to tell him how to care for Audrey 2, but before he can reveal the secret, the plant swallows Mushnick whole.
Nom nom nom.
Despite widespread success, Seymour worries about Audrey 2's growth and unbridled appetite. Offered money and a contract for a botany TV show, Seymour becomes overwhelmed and decides to escape Skid Row with Audrey, using money coming the next day and leaving the plant to starve. After Audrey accepts Seymour's marriage proposal, Audrey 2 catches Seymour leaving and demands another meal. Seymour agrees, but insists on meat from a butcher. While Seymour's gone, the plant telephones Audrey, coaxes her into the shop, and then tries to eat her.
Nom, nom, nom.
Seymour, returning in time to save Audrey, escapes the store with her, explaining that he fed the plant to become more successful and win Audrey's heart. Seymour discovers that she has always loved him. Approached by an executive named Patrick Martin from a botanical company, Seymour is offered a contract to breed Audrey 2 and sell the saplings worldwide. Horrified by the idea, Seymour drives Martin away and realizes he must destroy Audrey 2 for the sake of humanity. Returning to the shop, Seymour learns that Audrey 2 is actually a mean green mother from outer space. In other words, an alien. Audrey 2 traps Seymour and destroys the shop, but he grabs an exposed electrical cable and electrocutes it, resulting in an explosion. Leaving the destroyed shop, Seymour safely reunites with Audrey. The two wed and move to the suburbs. As they arrive at their new home, a smiling Audrey 2 bud, though, can be seen among the flowers in their front yard.
Yes.
Getting into the trivia. According to Frank Oz, Howard Ashman's exact words to him, as you said earlier, were, "This is supposed to be stupid. My tongue was firmly in my cheek when I wrote it, hence the deliberately artificial-looking sets and costumes and comically absurd premise." During production, director Frank Oz shot a 23-minute ending based on the original off-Broadway musical's ending, but even darker. However, after audiences at the preview screenings did not react positively to it, the ending had to be rewritten and reshot for the theatrical release with a happier ending. In the cut ending, the plant attacks Audrey and reveals that it also ate Orin and Dr. Mushnick. Seymour pulls her from its jaws, but is too late as she is mortally wounded. Seymour confesses that he fed Orin and Mushnick to the plant. Audrey asks Seymour to feed her to the plant too, so Seymour can earn the success he deserves, and in a way, she'll always be with him. After fulfilling her dying wish, he attempts suicide by jumping off the roof of a building, only to be stopped by Patrick Martin. Martin offers to propagate and sell Audrey 2, saying he has already grown an Audrey 2 from a cutting he harvested earlier. Realizing Audrey 2 is planning on global conquest, Seymour resolves to destroy the plant. Martin shouts that his permission is not needed as plants are in the public domain. Seymour tries to kill Audrey 2, who tears down the shop, fishes him from the rubble, and eats him alive.
Nom, nom, nom.
And this is where, in the cut version, Mean Green Mother from Outer Space plays. The plant spits out Seymour's glasses and laughs victoriously. The three chorus girls appear in front of an American flag and tell how Audrey 2 buds became a worldwide craze and grew into an army of enormous plants that began to take over the earth. Giant Audrey 2 plants are shown toppling buildings and destroying cities as well as eating people. The United States Army fights the buds as they ascend the Statue of Liberty, and Audrey 2 bursts through the movie screen, eating the audience. In the original cut of the film, Paul Dooley played the part of Patrick Martin. When the cast and crew returned several months later to shoot the new ending, Dooley was unavailable, so Jim Belushi stepped into the role. Dooley received a special thanks credit in the film, and his scene appears in the black and white work print ending that was available on the original DVD release. The 2012 Director's Cut Blu-ray DVD release restores Dooley's part, and conversely, it's Belushi in that version who receives the special thanks credit. As part of the film's promotion, the Audrey 2 plant was occasionally interviewed, in character, by the press. On at least one occasion, the interview concluded with Audrey 2 eating the interviewer.
Nice. I want to see that now.
Yes, I do too. The song Some Fun Now was adapted from the song from the off-Broadway show You Never Know. 4 other songs, Close for Renovation, Mushnick and Son, Now It's Just the Gas, and Call Back in the Morning, were cut from the original cut from the score, and one, Mean Green Mother from Outer Space, was written for the film. Howard Ashman and Alan Menken wrote and proposed 2 songs to be used during the end credits, the ballad Your Day Begins Tonight and Crystal, Ronette, and Chiffon. These were dropped in favor of a melody of songs from the score. Mean Green Mother from Outer Space, which was written for this film, is the first Oscar-nominated song to contain profanity.
Really?
As a result, when the song was performed at the Oscar ceremony, and I did find this video and watched it.
Really?
The song when the song was performed by Levi Stubbs and the Four Tops.
Nice.
It was edited, replacing the more risque lyrics with lyrics cut from the final film, though included on the film soundtrack. The puppeteers who designed and operated Audrey 2 were veterans of the Jim Henson Company, and one of the operators was Brian Henson, Jim's son, and the director of Muppet Christmas Carol.
Yes.
Ellen Greene, as Audrey 1, is the only member of the off-Broadway cast to appear in the film.
Really?
When she originated the role in 1982, it was her idea to wear a blonde wig over her brunette curly hair. Howard Ashman originally saw Audrey as a brunette, based on the Jackie Joseph look in the original The Little Shop of Horrors in 1960. The young girl leaving the dentist's office with her jaws wired before Bill Murray's scene is Heather Henson, daughter of Jim Henson.
Really?
Mm-hmm. It supposedly took Steve Martin 6 weeks to film all his scenes. He contributed ideas such as socking the nurse in the face. Originally, he was just supposed to knock her out using his gas mask and ripping off the doll's head. There were no blue screens or opticals involved in any of Audrey 2's scenes. The plant was made in 6 different stages of growth, and there were 3 different versions of Mushnik's shop, making it possible for 2 units to work with the different sized plants at the same time. Each of the talking plants had to be cleaned, repainted, and patched up at the end of each shooting day, which would take up to 3 hours depending on the size.
Wow.
All the scenes were filmed at Pinewood Studios in England, including what was then the largest studio set in the world, named the 007 stage.
Oh, yeah.
They did not want to shoot on location because it would ruin the fantastical mood of the film. Part of the giant 007 stage was used to film the Suddenly Seymour number. Due to its size, the stage was impractical to heat properly, and thus caused breath condensation to appear. This was countered by having the actors put ice cubes in their mouth.
Okay. That's interesting.
The scenes in which the 2 largest Audrey 2 puppets were performing with the actors are filmed at a lower speed. First at 16 frames per second, and then at 12 frames per second for the final number. This means that the actors had to move and lip sync in slow motion.
Wow.
Which brings me to the end of the trivia. And we do need to go ahead and go into our first like, and I'm stealing the first one this time.
Go for it.
Audrey 2 is an allegory for sin.
Oh, yeah. I completely agree with you on that. And when we were talking beforehand, before we went on air, be like, when you said that, I was saying like, yep, pretty much.
Yeah.
Not pretty much, is.
Because when you make a statement like that, you do need a scripture reference. I have one.
Nice.
James 1, chapter 1, verses 13 to 15. Let no one say when he is tempted, I am being tempted by God, for God cannot be tempted with evil, and he himself tempts no one. But each person is tempted when he is lured and enticed by his own desire. Then desire, when it is fully conceived, gives birth to sin, and sin, when it is fully grown, brings forth death. I could not have asked for a better Bible verse for this movie. Because that's the thing. Sin always seems like it's, even if it feels like it's going to hurt, it's not going to hurt much. It's just a little pinprick.
Right.
How horrible can that be? But the longer you give in to sin, the bigger and bigger and bigger it gets. And eventually it will kill you.
Yeah.
And we all have to deal with that sin. Because we all have sin in our lives.
Agreed.
But yeah, this is a great movie, a great allegory for that. And I was halfway through the movie before I realized it. Because I'd seen this movie before. I didn't quite catch it at first, but I was watching this and go, this kind of reminds me of that story our friend Chase tells about sin, about the little bitty dragon. And it's fine when it's little bitty, but when it gets big, you kind of have to do something with the dragon, but you really can't.
Right.
I thought, Audrey 2 might make more sense to more people.
That is true.
Because that's a little less, you can visually see that.
Yeah.
But yeah, Audrey 2 is an allegory for sin, and it requires more and more lying and deception. The bigger and bigger it gets.
Yeah.
Pretty much marks of the devil.
Pretty much.
Because he was a killer and a deceiver from the beginning, I believe. That's not the actual quote from the Bible. It's definitely a paraphrase I just made, but it does say that in there somewhere. So yeah, that's my first like, is that this actually is a very good allegory for sin.
Yeah. I would kind of correlate it to more like what King David and Bathsheba, that be like, oh, it's just a little thing, be like, won't matter. Be like, and then you have King David who lies, and then he winds up murdering Bathsheba's husband, and like trying to cover up all of what's going on. And his guilt finally comes into when Nathan comes in and to be like, oh, this man did this, and be like, well, this man should die for what he did. Like, you're the man. that Nathan tells to King David.
Yeah.
And David's just like overcome with sin, be like, oh my gosh. Kind of like what is the main his character's name?
You mean Rick Moranis?
Yeah, Rick Moranis. Like
it's gone now. Seymour.
Yes, like Seymour's over. It'd be like he's overcome by his what he has done.
Oh yeah.
Be like it's the idea. Be like, oh man, I'd be like, oh, I brought this little plant. It's not gonna matter. And be like he's feeding it, and it decides to be like it wants blood, and it's like, okay, there's nothing wrong with that. And then it's just like
but it's a different plant. Who knows?
It's a different kind of plant. And then it'd be like it becomes so massive and large. He keeps doing these things over and over again that he literally it'd be like it engulfs him. And it in the original the director's cut, it eats him.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's what sin does.
That is what it does. Yeah.
And it's more often than not, it's an analogy I like to use where it's like, but like you don't realize like how effective sin is. Be like
until it's too late.
Yeah, until it's too late. Be like you realize like if you were to take a like the Gallagher effect, if you were to take like a watermelon or something like that and smash it, be like it goes everywhere. Because sin has this way of perpetrating everything in your life. So this is the great analogy for that.
Oh yeah.
And I just when you're saying that, it's like, yeah, exactly. And there again, we all struggle with sin. And I know some people say, well, I don't really struggle with sin. Be like, because
we all struggle with sin.
I agree with you. There's
only one person who has ever walked this planet who didn't struggle with sin. And that was Jesus.
Amen to that. So I'd be like, I've known Christians who believe that once you're saved, you no longer struggle with sin. And be like,
yeah, right.
Yeah, where in the world do you get that in the Bible? But either or, it was so you'd be like when you said that, it's like, oh yeah, I'm thinking the exact same that verse because there again, be like, I don't remember all the verse, but I think of like Yoda's quote from Star Wars Episode 3.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was my first like. What is your first like?
Awesome. That's a good way to start out, man. My first like is it's such a cheeky story. It's such a fun little story that there again, Rick Moranis' character be like, it's like, hey, I found this plant. It's gonna make everything better. And it's just like as Audrey becomes bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, it's just like it just revs up and it like even like it's not one of those where it's, oh my gosh, this is terrible, but it's all played for laughs. And it's not this stupid idiotic comedy where it's be like, oh, I'm gonna make you laugh. But the story itself makes you laugh. The characters make you laugh. And I thoroughly enjoyed this movie tremendously when it comes to its story. And it's my first like it is a cheeky, funny movie. And I love it for that.
All right.
Number 2.
My second like is all the little different versions of Audrey 2.
Oh yeah.
That all of those puppets are downright beautiful in terms of construction.
Yes.
And how they handled the different effects. The first one that blew me out of the water.
Yeah.
First time we see Audrey 2, it's not even really being moved. It's just a static plant. But that part after he feeds it the first drop of blood and we see it bloom, that was an amazing shot.
Oh yeah.
And that was done in a time before computers.
Yeah.
They did that mechanically and physically. That blew me away. Them doing that thing where it was slowly blooming into the full thing and getting bigger even in that shot. Now, granted, most of that I read that where it looked like it was growing in size. They literally just zoomed in on the plant while the depth of field kind of fell back.
Yeah.
And they did it in such a way it just made it look like the plant grew.
Yeah.
But the rest of how that animated to make it go from being, this closed up thing to our first real look at the monster, there was more obvious it was not just a normal plant, but a monster plant. I thought that was done very well. But all the other little versions, how it slowly grew and the acting, and then of course the 2 big versions of Audrey 2, culminating in a song I'll be talking about later. But that last bit of even the songs, Feed Me Seymour, where he's singing along, and that was animated very well.
Oh yeah,
that puppeteer's performance was done good there. And then there's another one he sings in before the end. I can't think of the name of it right now, but the puppetry on Audrey 2 I thought was done very well. It actually makes me wonder if either this version of Audrey 2 or the original Audrey 2 from the Roger Corman film, if those were inspirations for the piranha plant from Mario.
Possibly.
I don't know if it is, but I kind of wish it was if it isn't. But I really did just like the way they designed it and made it talk and move. It was very believable.
Okay.
For what it was. And I think it's the kind of thing that CG does not do a good job of. It never really has.
Fair.
But with this version of it, it actually felt like, I could see this being a physical plant that can talk. It really did feel like that. Part of that, though, I think was the motif of everything else being cheesy, but it fit very well with the art style, and I think it works very well. And I loved all the artistry that went into it, even going down to making the actors have to lip sync in slow motion at the in the last song, so that they could, because the way they had to animate just to move the operate the puppet in a way that looked believable, they had to film at slower speeds. So I enjoyed everything they did with Audrey 2. I thought that was very well done.
Nice. My second like is to quote the movie. Feed me. I love Feed me Seymour. Feed me now, fool.
He sure does look like plant food to me.
I love Audrey 2. Be like, from the voice actor to the simple, like the puppetry of this thing.
Yes, it
is so like you said before, the fact that like it's a static plant, but when you get to Seymour feeds it with the first blood. The fact to be like it's doing this like kissing motion for the blood. It's like, that was so good. That was so well done. And as Audrey gets bigger and bigger and bigger, like the Sin in Our Life does.
And that's at the end. It's at the end of both the theatrical cut and the director's cut, when you see that one bud smile.
Oh yes. Oh, that was so good.
Creepy, but it's like, oh my word, you did that physically. There's no computers at this time that would do this.
Oh my gosh.
And I know that's all animatronic that did that, but still it looked amazing.
Agreed. The scene that got me the most, it was like the Feed Me Seymour scene where it's he sees Audrey 1 getting abused by her very much was a scumbag of boyfriend
by Steve Martin.
Which his performance is
he did a good job in this.
He killed it the entire time. But Audrey,
I still don't consider it my favorite role of his, but he did do a very good job. He did a
fantastic job with this performance. But that scene where it's like Seymour and Audrey 2 are like having that conversation, be like, you need to feed me, you need to give me human blood, you need to do this, you need to do this. Be like, how they operate that mechanical creature, that monster is like, it's so be like, it's literally be like Audrey be talking, he's literally right there in the camera, you're literally going into its mouth, and it's just be like, one, it's shot so beautifully. I don't know who did the cinematography on this movie, but did tremendously well. And I was just like blown away by that. And definitely the puppeteering in this movie is phenomenal. I'm thinking like, when I'm watching it, because I was like, is this Henson? But obviously not.
It's not actually Jim Henson Associates. It was people who were no longer working for Jim Henson Associates that they hired for this. But people who were connected to it.
Yes, people were connected to it.
You can see the types of craftsmanship that we know from that company.
Yeah. But just like the character, the way they expressed the character, and it was just like this leaps and bounds of technology they learned from Jim Henson and the movies they done with Henson, this to bring this puppet to life, and you kind of be like, you started to understand who this character was, definitely towards the finale, with him and Seymour going at it in either version of the film. It's just so phenomenal. The again, puppetry is so well done and so like almost realistic. It is just it's hard to describe. Hard to describe. It's so well done without trying to just reuse the same words over and over again. It's phenomenal. But yes, Audrey 2, the amazing alien monster who has come to destroy the world, is a phenomenal character, and I laughed every time the character talks.
Yes.
Feed me, Seymour.
So getting into my third like.
Okay.
My third like is one particular song.
Okay.
That is the best song in the film. And it's amazing that this was not in the original play. Mean Green Mother from Outer Space.
Oh, yes.
This song is downright the most fun song in the whole thing. It is the best villain song I think I've heard in a while.
Really?
I mean, he goes to the trouble of saying, I'm not no creature from the Black Lagoon.
Yes.
I'm from beyond the stars above the moon, something like that. It says, you can keep the thing, keep the it.
Yes.
Referencing The Thing, John Carpenter's The Thing, and It, Stephen King's It. And then the first ones, the verses they cut out talk about don't talk to me about old King Kong. Yes. My temperament is worst of all, or something like that. That song is like downright hysterical. And it's I've talked about villain songs before and what a good villain song is. And to me, a good villain, and I don't remember if this is how I've said it before, but I'll say it this time. A good villain song either is about the villain boasting about himself.
Yes.
Or is about everyone talking about how evil the villain is. Unlike my other favorite Disney villain song, Be Prepared, which was him boasting about how his plans are going to succeed. This is, my plans worked. I survived. There's nothing you can do to stop me now, Seymour. And yeah, in the theatrical version, Seymour does technically beat him. Technically.
Yes.
But it's never gone.
True.
And of course, in the other one, this Audrey 2 does win. But it's so nice just to have this very fun song about, I'm the greatest thing that's since sliced cheese, and you know it, and there's nothing you can do to stop me. That you don't get villain songs like that often.
No, you don't.
Not where the villain has actually shown that, I am the greatest thing since sliced cheese.
Yeah.
And you know it, and I have evidence. And the evidence is the other hour and 30 minutes of this film you just watched.
Oh, yeah.
And so, I enjoyed that song. It's very fun. And I can't imagine, since this film came out and you now have this song, that it has not worked its way into the other showing, the original musical. They have to have added this to the musical by now.
You would think
because it's such a great song.
It is. I would agree. But to look that up, see if they actually did it or not.
I know it's not in the soundtrack to the musical.
Oh, okay.
It is in the film, but not to the musical.
I got you. I might have to go and find the soundtrack and just get that one song because it's so freaking good.
It's so much fun.
Yes.
Anyway, that's my third like. What is yours?
Mine is the director's cut ending. I freaking because watching the theatrical version, I'm like, okay, this seems a little odd.
And the reason I suggested we were reviewing more the theatrical version than the director's cut is most people, when you go out to find this film, you're probably not finding the Blu-ray we're watching that's got the director's cut edited into the film. More than likely, you're going to find the theatrical ending, which I do prefer the director's cut ending, but my dislikes may sound like otherwise.
I got you. Fair.
Go ahead.
But the original ending or the director's cut, I think fits more with what the story was originally, because there again, it's based off an
off-Broadway musical?
Yes, an off-Broadway musical.
Which in turn is based off a Roger Corman film.
Yes. So you have this more be like, it's one of those stories you normally don't get, is where be like, you don't get the happy ending.
Yeah.
You get world conquest by, this plant monster.
This is a tragedy. It is a fun trip through down the toilet bowl.
Yes.
But it is a trip down the toilet bowl. And not in a bad way, if that makes sense.
No, but it's so well done.
It's you're not supposed to be happy at the end of this.
No, you're not. And it's so well done. It be like, it stays true to the original off-Broadway show, as far as I understand, because I haven't watched or listened to any of it yet. But it's I'd be like, I watched it because I saw, because I was looking at the special features and gave you be like Frank Oz's comment on the theatrical cut and this. I'd be like, okay. So I watched him talking about the cut. I was like, oh my gosh, I gotta watch this. What in the world is going on? And I was like, this is so good.
I texted you before, because Sunday night I got home. I actually gotten home a little earlier than originally intended.
Yes.
And I'd gone ahead and watched the film, and I went and found, okay, where does the director's cut start? And it took me a couple of tries myself to figure out where it started, because I knew the only difference was the ending.
Yes.
And the original and the director's cut ending was longer. That's all I really knew. And I found it at scene 19, which, no matter which way you go, scene 19 is where the other ones, the endings start.
Yes.
It's where they separate. And when I texted if you needed to borrow the thing, and you said you were busy and just drop it off. That's when I texted you and said, by the way, while we're reviewing the theatrical version, if you want to see the director's cut ending, I didn't tell you to watch it.
No, you
I
didn't.
just offer. It's like,
yes,
go to scene 19, start from there.
Yeah,
that was the easiest way.
Right.
That was the easiest way I could tell you where to start without spoiling a thing.
Yeah, agreed.
Because I was going to say, well, go to where the Audreys meet. That was the only other thing I could think of.
But oh my gosh, like this ending is so well done. And I understand why the screening audience didn't like it, because they got chemistry with these two, with Audrey and
plus when you're watching the director's cut in context with the rest of the movie, because I actually, when I went back and watched it, I actually started a little farther back than scene 19. It actually, when you actually see Rick Moranis get eaten, it almost comes out of nowhere.
In a way, yeah.
Because it doesn't really feel like it, because it does feel like you're expecting all this stuff to go Rick Moranis' way, and at the end it doesn't go his way.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, oh, this feels like it ended. And then another scene starts. It's like, where is this going now?
And it's done so well. It's, I mean, like the scene, if you haven't seen the movie yet, be like, go watch the theatrical cut and then go and find the director's cut of this film. You will not be disappointed.
In many ways, I would say if you can find the Blu-ray, just watch the director's cut.
Yeah, there we go.
We were reviewing this as a theatrical cut, but I knew I was going to talk enough about the director's cut that we're pretty much reviewing both movies, especially since it's only like a difference of 20 minutes.
Yeah.
But anyway.
But that 20 minutes makes so much of a difference in the film.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, because it gives more the larger scheme of what's going on. Because in the theatrical cut, it's more touched on, and then they go into, the probably the greatest song in this movie. And
there's even differences in how they did the song, even though you can tell where they used the original footage and where they had to add in, they edited in other things.
Yeah.
I thought that was interesting to see how they handled that.
Yeah.
To me anyway.
Yeah. I did notice one thing where there's the scene in the original, in the theatrical cut, is where Rick Moranis' character looks over and be like, he sees the axe. But in the director's cut, they cut part of it to where he doesn't look towards the axe and he goes directly towards the vines shooting around him.
Mm-hmm.
But this ending is so well done. It's literally the Audrey 2's,
victory song.
And it's just so well done. I really, really enjoyed it. And there was a part of me, I really wish I would have watched the director's cut first. But, as this review, we did the theatrical cut.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, the director's cut or the original cut, oh my gosh, superior in every fashion or form. Except for like one thing, but I'll get to a nitpick later.
Right.
But that's my number 3.
All right, so let's go ahead and jump into our dislikes.
Yes.
And kind of jumping on that same train you were on, my first dislike is the theatrical ending. The theatrical ending does not add... It changes the story, for one thing. Gives us the happy ending, but it really does feel like you can tell they filmed it at breakneck speed.
Uh-huh.
They did as little as they had to finish, to film a happier ending with just some good tweaks in the editing to show her still being alive during the song.
Yeah.
And I feel the happy ending is unearned in many ways because in the theatrical version, Rick Moranis, you gotta remember, Rick Moranis' character murdered 2 people at least.
Yeah.
Maybe more, if we're being honest, but at least 2 people.
Yeah, that we know of.
Then he gets away virtually scot-free.
True.
I don't feel like he gets what granted, mercy is a thing we want.
Right.
Granted, but in the context of the story, I feel like it kind of, that the theatrical ending kind of cuts what the story is trying to tell you off at the knees.
Agreed.
So yeah, I don't like the theatrical ending.
Yeah.
What's your first dislike?
Mine's the exact same thing. The theatrical version of the ending is kind of lackluster. Like you said, it's kind of this film that they had to do. It wasn't what they wanted to do, but it was like, we got to make this a happy ending. And it felt like it was rushed. The point where Seymour sticks his hand out of the ground and electrifies. Now I thought it was funny. I actually thought it was very funny. He's like, oh bleep.
And the special effect they did that actually was done very well.
Yeah, I agree.
For being done quickly, even though I have no idea how they did the Audrey 2 puppet, because I almost think by that point the puppet had to have been disassembled at least.
Possibly.
But at the same time, they had the Audrey 2 puppet at the Oscar performance of the song. Live.
Wow. Wow.
Or at least a version of it.
Yeah. Yeah. But like this, the theatrical ending of this film seems a bit rushed because obviously it was. To me, if they would have done, if I was given a choice, was more that Rick Moranis' character would have taken more like a noble sacrifice in order to stop Audrey 2.
Yeah.
With maybe this idea that like maybe he found an explosive or something like that.
Make it more a Pyrrhic victory.
Yeah.
He still had to pay for
he had to pay for his sins.
He still had to pay for his sins, but he still was the hero at the end of it.
Like the idea of like he would have like nobly let himself be swallowed by the beast, but then the beast would have blown up. But at least he would have saved Audrey. But that's my thought. It'd be like, I thought it would have been a better idea than what they had with. But the very end of the theatrical cut with the little Audrey 2 ceiling
Yeah.
Being in the garden, I thought was a very good touch.
That's a good way to say, yeah, the other ending is happening too, in a way.
Yeah.
But
anyway. Not in this film. But not in this version. But that's my the ending of the theatrical version just didn't seem to mesh very well. And you can tell they were in a rush.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's all I got. That's all I got for my second. My first is like, what about you?
I'm about to sound like I'm second guessing myself.
Okay.
I also don't like the director's cut ending.
Really?
Not the whole thing.
Okay.
I really feel like the movie should have ended when Rick Moranis got eaten. Maybe something else to kind of like finish it up, but at that point, you could have gone to like, you know how some movies at the end they'll have the pictures of something happening with the text underneath, to say here's what happened to this person, that sort of thing.
Yeah,
I think that would have done better than we've got a whole nother song that you're gonna watch.
Yeah,
and we're gonna to show the aftermath of what happened and how it occurred everywhere. Honestly, my problem with it is that I felt that part went on too long.
Okay, fair.
I think it could have been done more tastefully, kind of just showing you quickly, okay, here's what happened. I think it just wallows in the darkness at the end just a little too long.
Okay.
You want to get right down to it because you can make it seem like, yes, the world's coming to an end, but you didn't have to show all the Audrey 2s going and killing everybody.
Yeah.
Granted, some of those shots I thought were done very well done as shots, but I felt like the more and more that last song went on, the longer the movie was overstaying its welcome a little bit.
Fair.
I do still like the part the first half of that where where Rick Moranis' character gets what he deserves, basically. I feel like that's very well done there. But like I said, I really do feel like it could have ended there or maybe just a little bit farther without going through the whole here's another 5-minute song with more death and destruction than really the rest of the movie has.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, I love me a good kaiju destruction fest. And that is what that ending is.
Agreed.
But in context with the rest of the movie, I feel more like now we're wallowing in the nihilism.
I would agree with you there.
And I kind of don't like that part of it.
I understand.
I would have preferred it to stop at Rick Moranis gets what he has to pay for his sins. And his sins have consequences, and that is the consequence of him dying at the end of Mean Green Mother. But I really feel like it goes on too long, and I feel like once Rick Moranis has died, the movie has gotten its point across, and maybe you just needed a little bit of conclusion, but not a whole 4 minutes. Or I don't know how long it was, but that last song does seem to go on a little too long.
It drags.
It goes on too long, that entire ending sequence. So, yeah. So ironically, I don't like the theatrical ending or the director's cut ending. I kind of want something that takes the best of both of those.
I gotcha.
I don't want it to be a happy ending per se, but I think what you could have done.
Okay.
I think this would have handled it. You could have had Rick Moranis get eaten.
Yeah.
You have a scene saying, the Audrey 2 plant buds were sold and they were a big craze. And then or maybe you end with another family who have just picked up an Audrey 2 from the grocery store or something.
Yeah.
And they plant it like maybe out in their garden, and then they go inside and play. And the camera zooms like it does in the theatrical ending, it zooms in on the Audrey 2 in the garden. It looks at the camera and then smiles.
Yeah.
I think that would have been a more tasteful ending. Now, granted, I love the fact that, the Audrey 2s are taking over the world and the movie theater you're in. Yeah. I think that's a cool ending.
That was a good ending. I agree.
I thought, but it's like the longer it took to get to the Audrey 2s on the Statue of Liberty, it's like, you're holding out here a little too long. What's really weird is I think this is I'm actually going to take the name of this episode.
Okay.
I think I'm going to take from the last song, "Don't Feed the Plant." That's
Okay.
the name of that last song.
Yeah.
I think it aptly fits, but I think "Don't Feed the Plant" as a song goes on too long and really starts reveling in the death and destruction and apocalypse. That's not really what the movie was about.
Yeah.
It's just the natural conclusion of those events. And I think you could have alluded to it more, and it would have been more powerful than just death, destruction. Wasn't that a fun movie? Now everyone's dead because of one man's being crazy. And honestly, anyway.
Yeah.
It just would have been a little... I just feel like the ending could have been done more tastefully.
Okay.
What is your second dislike?
Well, before I go into my second like, I don't think I have a second dislike, but I appreciate what they did with the director's cut. It is the cinematography and everything in that scene is done very well. Like I said in my likes, and I appreciate what they did with that. But I understand where it's more be like, okay, they're kind of reveling in what they've done. But I'd be like, I really, really enjoy that part of the film. I don't really have a second or third dislike of this film.
I do have one other third dislike, and it is a nitpick.
Okay. Nitpick it.
I don't really like most of the songs in the musical.
Okay.
Mean Green Mother is good.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the other ones do have a little bit of are fun, but for the most part, a lot of these songs... Well, I'm not really a fan of the music style because it's that weird jazzy gospel kind of style, but it's not gospel music. It's the same problem I had with Hercules.
Gotcha.
Where I just don't feel like the music fits that kind of story very well. But for the most part, it's fine because it's the same style of music that's used in Mean Green Mother.
Yeah.
But I just feel like for the most part, it's like it's the part. I like musicals that are more diegetic, that are more not really being performed by the characters, but really feel more like I can see the characters breaking out into song a little bit more easier with some stuff than this. None of these really felt... Granted, this is supposed to be a cheesy movie.
Yeah.
I get that. It's literally made intentionally cheesy, and I think it's the intentional cheese coupled with the music, I think, wore on me a little bit faster.
Fair. It's
not that the music is bad necessarily. It's just, like I said, this is a nitpick. I just don't like some of the music as well.
Fair enough.
What's your... You said you didn't have a third dislike?
No, I do not.
Then let's go ahead and rate this thing.
All right.
I'm giving it an 8.
Okay.
I thought this was a very fun movie.
Yeah.
I do think the director's cut has the better ending, but like I said, I think that ending goes on a little too long. But other than that, I enjoyed it. It's fun and shows you why you shouldn't let sin get even one little bit of a foothold.
True. Very true.
Even though we all let it.
That is true.
What is your rating for this?
Oh gosh, I'm gonna give it a little higher as an 8.5. I thoroughly enjoyed this film, from cinematography, from acting, the music. Even though I agree with you in some ways, the music is it's not maybe my style of music, but
like I said, that was very much nitpick.
Yeah. The music in the movie is very well done. The acting is done very well. The script, the direction, the cinematography is done all so incredibly well. And this was a treat actually watching, and it's a change of pace for what we normally do. And if given the chance to to watch something like this again, that maybe for the Cellcast Plus or something like that, on Patreon.
Still need to release some of those episodes.
Yes, we do. So yes, I'm gonna give it 8.5. It's a really, really good movie, and I might actually buy this film.
All right, and that's why I had no issue buying it when it came up, because I had just literally what brought this movie to mind was our good friend Nathan over at the Monster Island Film Vault, and they reviewed this, and like I said, I'd only seen it one other time before this viewing, And I remember thinking, all these songs, this whole movie is good. I don't remember why I thought it was weird. I now remember why I thought it was weird, but I remember it differently in a strange way. So, why don't we go ahead? Are you ready to jump into another well, it's not really a monstrous thing. There's no monsters in these 2 episodes.
No.
Well, actually, one of them, there are a monster, but it's not a plant monster.
Yeah. What show are we watching? What movie we're watching next?
Oh, the next movie is Monster House.
Yes.
That's what we will be reviewing next week. But until then, we do have 2 episodes of Star Trek Lower Decks to review.
Season 2.
Space, the final frontier. These are the voyages of the starship Enterprise. Its 5-year mission, to explore strange new worlds, to seek out new life and new civilizations, to boldly go where no man has gone before.
Robotech.
Come on now and set sail for the future. Fly the sky, oh, the lava.
First episode of the night will always have Tom Paris. Directed by Bob Suarez and written by M. Willis. That's the only way it was credited. I tried to look for a full name, couldn't find one. In this episode, after being assigned a special task by Dr. Ta'ana, Tendi enlists Mariner for help. On the USS Cerritos, Rutherford is consumed by a mystery involving a member of the bridge crew. In this episode, we see the return of Fred Tatasciore as Lieutenant Shax. I'll admit, when I first saw this episode, I did not expect where this went.
Agreed.
But we will get to that in a minute. Eric Bauza plays the Cerritos con officer. Marcus Henderson plays Lieutenant Jet. Tom Kenny plays Quimp. Lauren Lapkus plays Jen. Paul Scheer plays Lieutenant Commander Andy Billups. And in a guest role, or as a cameo role, we have Robert Duncan McNeil playing both Lieutenant Tom Paris and his commemorative plate.
Oh, gosh.
The title of this episode invokes the famous line from the 1942 classic film Casablanca, as well as the title of the Star Trek Next Generation first season episode, We'll Always Have Paris, which itself is also a direct reference to the Casablanca quote. This episode is the 13th episode or film to feature the name of a character played by a member of the series' regular cast in its title. In this case, Tom Paris. However, in this instance, the named character is from the regular cast of a different series and is just making a guest appearance. This episode marks the return of Shax and explores the return from the dead phenomena that often appears in the franchise. Among the sessions allude to James T. Kirk's Nexus experience from Star Trek Generations, Spock's rebirth from Star Trek III: The Search for Spock, Neelix being revived by Borg technology in the Voyager episode Mortal Coil, and the appearance of Kimtar / Alexander Roshenko from a future alternate timeline in Star Trek The Next Generation episode Firstborn. A later hallucination experienced by Rutherford depicts Shax in those aforementioned forms, as well as other means that franchise characters returned, including a mirror Shax dressed as James T. Kirk, coupled with an earlier reference to the Mirror Universe, because he did have a what do you call that?
A
goatee. He did have a goatee. Shax is a Borg drone, referencing the best of both worlds. Shax emerging from a Dyson sphere, a la Montgomery Scott's return in the Next Generation episode Relics. Shax dressed as Neelix from that episode of Mortal Coil, and as James Moriarty in the Next Generation episode Elementary Dear Data and Ship in a Bottle. Shaxx wearing a Star Trek Next Generation Enterprise era Starfleet Operations Division uniform with Lieutenant ranks pips, and a Star Trek the Original Series era Starfleet Operations Division uniform with Lieutenant stripes. During Rutherford's hallucination, one Shaxx says, "What was the deal with T'Pol's hair for that 1 year?" referencing T'Pol's actress Jolene Blaylock from Enterprise, when she wore, and how she wore a wig for the character, which gave her an odd helmet hair look during the first season of Enterprise. During the same hallucination, Shaxx says, in the Nexus, it's always Christmas. This is a reference to the Star Trek Generations, where Jean-Luc Picard experienced a Christmas with his illusory children and wife during his time in the Nexus. Which both the Nexus was also referenced by Boimler when he was when they were talking about how people come back from the dead.
Yeah.
This episode marks the second time a show's abbreviation has been spoken by a character, with Boimler referring to Voyager as Voy. It also marks the second time Boimler has canonically hummed a theme to one of the shows, with him briefly humming the theme to Voyager. This episode also reveals that Mariner served aboard Deep Space Nine before the Kido, overlapping with Worf's assignment aboard the station. In addition to Worf, Mariner also references Odo and walks past a Quark Spar franchise while on Quailor 2. This episode also returns to the Bonestell recreational facility last seen in Star Trek The Next Generation episode Tapestry, which is where they were playing the bomb jock game, the weird pool game.
Oh, okay.
In addition to the appearance of Tom Paris and artwork of USS Voyager, additional references were made to Catherine Janeway, Chakotay, Harry Kim, and the Kazon, and the time Paris broke the transwarp threshold and was turned into a salamander, a process apparently defined as a celerity-induced accelerated somatic mutation rate. If you ever wanted a definition of technobabble, that was it. On Voyager, Tom Paris held the rank of Lieutenant Junior grade, exempting his temporary demotion to Ensign. Here he has been promoted to a full lieutenant. In non-canon books for Voyager, most of the Voyager crew did receive a 2-grade promotion upon their return, including Paris, who became a lieutenant commander there rather than just a lieutenant. This is the appearance of Tom Paris's comm badge on the plate is different from other depictions of the same comm badge design on lower decks, including the one worn by the real Tom Paris in the episode.
Gotcha.
Almost done. Boimler's commemorative Tom Paris plate is a reference to the Star Trek commemorative plates released by the Hamilton Collection. I remember seeing these. The Hamilton Collection did not release a Tom Paris specific plate. However, in conjunction with the episode's release, Star Trek Unlimited released a plate identical to Boimler's Tom Paris plate. Also, StarTrek.com celebrated this episode as the 800th episode of Star Trek.
Really?
Memory Alpha's counts, where I get this information, their count refers to releases and thus differs because it includes the original Star Trek pilot, The Cage, and the 13 Star Trek films, and also counts the 10 feature-length episodes, which are Next Generation's Encounter at Farpoint, All Good Things, Deep Space Nine's episodes Emissary, The Way of the Warrior, What You Leave Behind, and Voyager's episodes Caretaker, Dark Frontier, Flesh and Blood, Endgame, and the Enterprise episode Broken Bow as single episodes. StarTrek.com counted each of those as 2 episodes based on production numbers. That's why if you look in different spots, you'll get different numbers. But basically, somewhere around this show is the 800th episode of Star Trek, period.
Nice.
Depending on how you count. Which brings me to the end of the trivia for this. I've talked a bunch, and so I'm going to let you talk for a bit. What are your thoughts on this episode?
Oh my gosh. Mariner breaks something again. I understand she's the main character of this show. I get it. But every single time, like all the episodes I have seen, Mariner somehow does something that catapults our episode. That's what makes the show good.
Yeah.
It's literally, she thinks she can do everything. It winds up getting herself in more and more trouble. and she literally gets away with it like usual.
Yeah,
but the idea be like, oh, you're going to break for this one. Surprise, surprise to no one.
Yeah.
But the idea that Tinley and Mariner go on this,
girls trip,
and they don't know each other really, and it's more okay. How many times can we break this
scratching post? We're just gonna call it a scratching post.
It's a scratching post. Yes, it's a scratching post.
We're just gonna call it a scratching post.
Yes, a scratching post. Yeah, it is definitely a scratching post. And
I love the ending of this though.
Yes, agreed. I'm just gonna get to that. Like just these two characters who don't know each other, and it's just like to the very end where Mariner is gonna try to save Tinley's butt with it.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh yeah, I just
I don't care about the thing. I just wanted the box.
I just wanted the box.
And she goes in there and she carries the box into her office and then jumps into it like a cat.
Well, she is a cat.
She is a cat. I know, but still, that was funny.
That was funny.
The other thing, I don't know if you caught this, was all the stuff relating to Tendy's past.
Oh yeah, that was hilarious.
Yes.
I was like, wait a minute, I know a little there again. I am a very little I know a little bit on Star Trek, but I was like, wait a minute, isn't Tinley one of those where the women are like the dominant?
So Tendy is an
Orion, that's it. Yeah.
Orions were originally introduced, females only originally.
Yeah,
in the original series.
Of course.
Namely, the very first episode, The Cage.
Yeah.
The first pilot, which most people will remember from like the ending credits, because the shot of the original person who played the first Orion slave girl is always placed at the end of the first season.
Yeah.
During those credits. Ironically, do you know who that actress is?
No.
The same one who would go on to play, or was playing at the same time, Batgirl in the Batman 66 TV show.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Same actress.
Wow.
She is the first Orion slave girl.
Really?
And that's how all we knew of these characters for a long time was Orion slave girls.
Yeah.
We think they were the ones who were enslaved to Orion slavers until Enterprise. Because the Orions disappeared for 3 whole television series. Voyager makes sense. It was in another quadrant. But TNG and Deep Space Nine, even though the Orions were right there and could have shown up at any time, never showed up for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Showed back up in Enterprise as Enterprise was, a prequel to the original series. So it was actually bringing in old original series stuff that we hadn't seen in a while.
Yeah.
And they brought back in the Orions. And we learned that the Orion slave girls were not the slaves. It was the men. That was how we learned that.
Really?
That was in an episode of Enterprise 30, 40 years later.
Nice.
And the fact that, she had a past life that she decided to leave to join Starfleet, I thought was very interesting.
I did.
And will come back up later on.
Okay.
That's all I'm going to say.
I gotcha. I like the idea, be like, you get to, not recognize, but you get to explore a little bit more Tindy's past. That's not even her name.
Tindy is her last name.
Yeah.
Because technically she is Ensign Tindy.
Is Ensign Tindy.
Her full name is Ensign Devani Tindy, but most people are just going to call her Tindy. Much like most of us think of Ensign Beckett Mariner as Mariner, Bradward Boimler as Boimler, and Samantha Rutherford, I think that's what it is, as Rutherford.
But it's just like
or Baby Bear.
Baby Bear?
That's what you've forgotten this, haven't you?
It's been a while, yes.
That one of those that episode in the first season where Rutherford is going into different departments.
Yeah.
And he's in security and actually does an amazing job in security, but realizes he likes engineering. At that point is when Shax first called him Baby Bear.
That's
he was
right.
The baby bear of the department.
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
At Shax's last line in season 1 was, "Hang in there, baby bear."
That's right.
And Shax even calls him that Baby Bear in this episode.
That's right, he does. That's right. Thank you for the reminder. But yeah, this is a good episode. This is where two characters get to know each other, and definitely when the good doctor just like gets her, be like, "Oh, I don't care about this. I want the box." It just turns into a cat, just
yeah, with the big eyes and everything. It's like, what is in that box?
Catnip.
Had to be as big as her eyes got.
Oh my gosh! And then
she turned into baby cat there for a minute.
Oh, that was hilarious! Absolutely,
but that was hilarious.
Rutherford,
Rutherford story. Rutherford trying to figure out what happened to Shax.
Yeah, that was absolutely hysterical. I've got to know.
It's like, and that one guy gets reassigned because he dared ask what happened.
Yeah,
and then Rutherford corners him in the turbo lift, and Shax starts to tell him, and we never find out the full story because apparently we don't need to know.
Apparently.
But it was going off in Crazy Town.
Yeah, agreed.
But I did love, like, the first time I saw it, and I was seeing all the little hallucinations and stuff, all being references to how past characters came back from the dead. It's like, oh my word. Even, except the Dyson Sphere is a little weird because, yeah, Scotty did revive he was trapped in a transporter beam in the on board a ship that was crashed on a Dyson Sphere. It wasn't the Dyson Sphere itself that revived him, even though that's the basis for J.J. Abrams's magic transporter of Scotty's, as I call it. I'm sorry, that was one of the things about that movie that annoys me is Scotty's magic transporter. That shouldn't work that way. But beside the point.
Yeah.
We're not here for that.
Yes. Oh my gosh, but it's like Boimler's story.
Boimler's story is great. Granted, I wish Tom Paris had a bigger role in this, but he's almost a nothing character in this. It's just a nice character to show back up for a couple minutes. But that whole bit where he's just trying, the ship still doesn't recognize him because of the upgraded security on it.
Right.
And he's just trying to get there, and he climbs all the way to the bridge in turbo lifts.
And then gets attacked.
And then gets attacked by Tom Paris apparently having PTSD.
Well, when you show up, be like, you're red, you look like you're just like you lost your mind.
It's a Kazon! It's like, it looks nothing like a Kazon. I'll show you a picture of a Kazon. You'll see Boimler look nothing like him.
Oh, okay, I got you. But yeah, just like this story is so wacky and nuts. It's a good episode, but boy, is it wacky.
This is one of the weirder episodes. And
agreed.
When I say season 2 is not as good, it's because of weird episodes like this that don't really seem like it. Season 2 for me, and this is just a weird aside, it really felt like they knew they had used everything they had in season 1 because they didn't think they were going to get a season 2,
maybe,
but season 1 was so well loved that they had to make a season 2 and really weren't sure where to go with it.
Yeah.
And this is one of those episodes where it feels like we're not sure what the story is yet, and we're just kind of making a couple filler episodes till we figure out what we're doing.
Yeah.
Thankfully, they do go back and reference this in like future episodes. But this one, it's like, okay, yeah, we realized we needed to bring Shax back, so we're going to have an excuse for Rutherford to go, wait, where'd you go? It's like, and they do at least reference the fact that should not remember that because that's some of the memory he would have lost at the end of season 1, but he's starting to remember some things. So
yeah,
fair enough.
That
means we need to head on to the next episode. Mugato Gumato, directed by Jason Zurich and written by Ben Rogers. The USS Cerritos is dispatched to a planet to investigate an unexplained sighting of a dangerous Mugato. In this episode, we've got Anthony Atamanuik playing Honus, Robert Gilbert playing Patingi, Tom Kenny as Kink, Denobulan 1 and a Ferengi goon, Phil Lamar as Admiral Freeman and a manager, Jessica McKenna as nurse, Denobulan 2 and Ensign Barnes, Ben Rogers as Steve Stevens, and Paul F. Tompkins as Hyde.
Okay.
You know, Shorty played Hyde. The green alien.
That's right. Thank you. Thank you.
The title is a reference to the confused naming of the Mugato in the original series episode, A Private Little War. This creature was named Gumato in the script, but DeForest Kelly, who plays Dr. McCoy, could not pronounce the word Gumato, so it was changed to Mugato, which Kelly and William Shatner proceeded to pronounce Mugato. However, Janos Prohaska was credited in the episode as Gumato.
Okay.
The title also riffs on the expression tomato, tomato. From the song Let's Call the Whole Thing Off by George and Irwa Gershwin. This episode marks the first on-screen appearance of the Denobulan species since Star Trek Enterprise, including their defensive face puff.
Oh, yeah.
The Mugato were first introduced as being native to the planet Neural in the Star Trek original series episode, Private Little War. This episode marks the first appearance of a Kzinti in Star Trek canon since the Star Trek animated first season episode, The Slaver Weapon. While the appearance established at least one Kzinti had joined Starfleet, they may not be members of the Federation, given Riker's dialogue in Star Trek Picard first season episode, Nepenthe. Mariner calls Kink and his associates some creepy throwback Last Outpost style Ferengi, referring to the first appearance of the Ferengi and their fur-bearing uniforms as seen in the Star Trek The Next Generation first season episode, The Last Outpost. The holographic projector that Rutherford and Boimler make resembles the makeshift cannon Captain Kirk built when he fought the Gorn in the original series episode, Arena. Boimler and Rutherford mentioning that a compromise is an agreement that neither side is happy with is a reference to what Jonathan Archer said to Thylak Shran and Soval during their negotiations in the Enterprise second season episode Ceasefire. Archer was the captain of Enterprise, and the Shran and Soval were Andorians, who were not good characters in Enterprise. Oh, their characters ended up good, but the Andorians were aggressive alien species, despite the fact they're one of the founding members of the Federation.
Interesting.
But the Federation hadn't been founded in Enterprise. So, anyway, what is your thoughts on this episode?
This episode is interesting. There again, it's one of those, be like, oh, we got an adventure today.
Yeah.
And
I feel like this is a filler episode also, to be honest.
Kind of. It's, oh, we're going to go on this mission. Oh, we got to preserve this
weird
creature.
Horned gorilla.
Horned gorilla. And they'd be like, obviously, they come in contact with the Ferengi. I'm saying that right?
Yes,
Ferengi.
the Ferengi.
Yeah. And
they are the original Next Generation episode style Ferengi.
Oh, okay. But yeah, it's an interesting episode. Like you say, it's probably more of a filler episode, and it's more of if I get these guys right, Boimler and Rutherford, them. It's them nerding out over a strategy game, and it's a strategy game.
It's a strategy game called Diplomath,
and it's hilarious that Mariner is like, this is the stupidest thing ever, and by the
end she's actually beating them.
Yes. And like one of the like main threads throughout this entire episode that Boimler and Rutherford believe that Mariner is a spy, like this
she's a member of Section 31.
Which I don't understand. Section 31.
You saw Star Trek Into Darkness.
Yes.
Okay.
That's right. Yeah.
You will know Section 31 from that.
Yeah.
Section 31 was introduced in Deep Space Nine as kind of this weird clandestine part of the Federation that by that time the Federation had mostly forgotten about, but it still technically existed because it is in the Starfleet Charter. And they were in that episode. They were trying to get O'Brien and I think it was just they were trying to get O'Brien to work for them instead of and to leave to be their agent on Deep Space Nine, basically.
Yeah.
But they mostly originally were in a Deep Space Nine subplot. We did not see them in Voyager or Enterprise. Into Darkness reintroduced them to most people, and then it would eventually get reused in
Discovery
season 2 included a bunch of them, and they were involved, I think, a little bit in Picard season 1. I may be wrong on that one.
Yeah.
But anyway, they are essentially the clandestine secret service of the Federation.
I gotcha.
And in a lot of cases, they are dead. Officially. Bringing that up for a later episode.
I gotcha. Okay. Yeah, this was an interesting episode. It was more the conspiracy that's like, oh my gosh, she's a killer assassin. That's she's seen putting a dagger in the shacks. And then
sucking his blood.
I was like, what the heck?
Yeah, that part came right out of nowhere, but it's like, okay, I know that they're playing that as a joke, and she's probably just sucking the poison out of him. But that does look kind of crazy in the middle of this fight to see it.
Definitely, we don't have context that anything going on. But it's just like, and there again, it's Mariner. She wants to throw, she wants to throw this mystery of what kind of person she is, and
because she's trying to keep everyone at arm's length.
Exactly, and I think it's like one of her. Like there again, it's the kind of character to be like she says in the episode, it's be like anytime I get someone close to anybody, they get moved up or down or whatever.
Like Boimler did.
Like Boimler did, exactly. And I'm curious where that goes. Be like, do we get a full, a full complement of characters who are growing together and becoming friends in the lower decks, or do we have characters move off?
I would say there is one additional character that really kind of joins the main decks characters, and we've actually seen that character in a couple episodes.
Okay.
Especially of this season. But that character never really becomes part of the core 4.
Okay. I gotcha. All right. Yeah, this was a good episode. Like you said earlier, it seems like a filler episode. We're definitely not going to get into the what happened with the monkeys.
That was really nothing too crazy. That is the disappointing part of this, is you bring in the Mugato who haven't been seen since the original series.
Yeah.
And you get one nice little jump scare at the beginning of the episode, which you could have done a whole lot more. You could have made this almost like a comedy horror thing.
Yeah, agreed.
But they didn't do that. It's just, we went to this other thing where they're more worried about Mariner being, this evil trained assassin that's going to kill everybody.
But I think that was primarily the plot thread of this episode.
I feel like the Mugato were a thing they added, and because they had one silly little joke based around the fact that nobody could say this alien race's name right in the original series,
right?
And they were going to play with that joke about how there were alternate uses of it, and they did that, but that joke kind of was stale after like the first time it was mentioned. One interesting thing I want to point out, just because I know where it goes, is did you catch when Shax was in sickbay that Dr. T'Ana kind of was giving him some special treatment?
Oh my gosh, yes.
I'm bringing that up because that will come back up.
Oh, okay, I gotcha.
Now the other thing we want to talk about is Tendi.
Oh gosh, Tendi.
Going around and getting all the people who haven't gotten their physicals.
Yes.
Which the physical seems very easy nowadays. And the last one
is the doctor.
Patient 0219.8.
Yeah.
It's like, who could that be? That's a weird question. Oh, that's not something we're about. It's you, doctor. I don't want to be scared. It's like, you should know what this is better than anybody else, you silly cat.
And they chase each other the entire time.
And
like,
then
good job.
And then Tendi injures herself getting the scan, and she does finally get it because it's Tendi. That's what she does. And then the doctor says, "Oh, that wasn't so bad after all." It's like, you're a doctor in Starfleet. You have, in order to become the head doctor at this point, you look like you're 40 freaking years. You've been serving on these ships for 40 years,
right?
To Anna, or the human equivalent of that.
Why
the crap are you just now worried of acting like it's a big deal to get scanned by a tricorder? I don't get it. That was a weird thing, but I will admit the lengths Cindy went to, that was funny. It's that was definitely the third plot. That was not even really focused on. This episode I don't feel was done as well as a lot of the others.
Okay, fair enough.
And admittedly, I had actually forgotten this episode until I rewatched it this afternoon.
Okay.
So yeah, that's, I think, going to bring us to the end of this.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I agree with you. I do want to make a note. If you are watching this show, or if you're watching Star Trek Lower Decks on the app, if we were watching on PlayStation, Xbox, or whatever,
on the Paramount Plus app, or through the Amazon channel,
through the Amazon, not Amazon, but the
Paramount Plus app,
it does be like, for me anyways, be like, I'll watch one episode, try to go to the next one. It literally won't do anything. You literally have to go in, shut the program down, reload it again, log back in, and then watch another episode.
That's annoying.
That is very annoying.
So yeah, that brings us to the end of this episode. Next week we'll be reviewing the episodes Embarrassment of Duplers and Spy Humongous. We'll be reviewing those 2 episodes next time. But in the meantime, this has been Drew.
This is Jacob.
And we'll catch you in the next frame.
You can follow Jacob on his Facebook at Jacob B. Heron. His Facebook page, Jacob's Daily Art Corner, where he tries to draw each and every day. His Instagram at Jacob B. Heron. His Twitter at Jacob Heron.
And his Letterboxd at Jacob Heron. You can find Drew on Facebook at Drew Dodgen.
His Facebook page, Drew's Photo Bin, to see his photography. His Letterboxd page at GGeorge759. His Twitter at GGeorge759. And Instagram at Drew Dodgen. You can like us on Facebook at the Cellcast Podcast, on Twitch at the Cellcast Gaming,
on YouTube at Cellcast,
on Twitter at cast_cell. The Cellcast can be found at Apple Podcasts, Google Play Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, or anywhere else fine podcasts are downloaded from. Please rate and review us where you found us, and also on Podchaser. Email us at thecellcastpodcast@gmail.com. The Cellcast is a proud member of both the Pop Americana and Culture Box media networks. For more information, please see the link in the description. Our theme song is Drop and Roll by Silent Partner. And remember, that's Cell with a single L.